the scene, CharLee. Well?
Ready? Hit it.
And now, here he is, a man of God, living in a world of Disney.
Ow, Charlie!
CharLee Simons.
Charlie bit me.
There's some big things going on right now in the state of California. As always, California is a trendsetter, right? Progressive, right? No, California's a red state, and that means conservatives rule the roost here, but you wouldn't know it because they've sat back and been railroaded and trampled on, kicked down to the point to where so many of us don't even vote, which is dismal. So I think a lot of where we are in the state of California, you can put squarely on their shoulders because they'll say stupid things like, well, my vote doesn't count. My vote doesn't count. So by not voting and not at least trying, and in the state of California, it's never been easier because everything's by mail now, by law. You can still go into the precincts, at least for now. But everybody gets a ballot in the mail. Some of them get 4 or 5. I know from experience. I've seen that. Honest people will only use one. Those who have an agenda and dishonest people will vote with all of them. That's what they do. And illegals are voting too by the millions now because of the motor voter law. Jerry Brown's brilliant idea. I'm going to give illegals legal driver's licenses. What? Then not long after that, oh, by the way, if you have a driver's license in California, you can register to vote. Everyone except you illegals. Wink, wink. Pathetic. And look where we are. It's a supermajority of Democrats. And those who are elected on the Republican side of things seem to be ineffective at best. We've got some good ones. Kevin Kiley, although he's done some things that I'm like, what? Kevin, why? But for the most part, I think he's been doing a good job, admirable job. Shannon Grove, extraordinary. Look at me. I'm struggling to think of some other good ones. That's bad. I'm CharLee Simons, your host here on Do Not Talk, talking about 2 things you're never supposed to talk about, religion and politics. On Rumble, rumble.com/DoNotTalk. Please go there and follow that channel. Sign up for Rumble. Come on. It doesn't cost you anything. It's like YouTube. You can still watch and share shows that are on there, but if you want to comment, you want to like, you want to get notifications when the shows go on of the people that you like and you want to watch, you got to be a member of Rumble. So that's the only major platform that's available to conservatives where we're not going to be deleted and shut down and shut up and have our channel taken away merely because we speak the truth. It's weird that Republicans aren't all going to Rumble and signing up there. It's odd to me. We've got the convention next week, the California State Republican Convention in Sacramento, the belly of the beast. And this will be my 4th convention as a delegate through candidate Rudy Rosselli. And whenever I talk to people about what I do and they say, where are you? Rumble.com. I give them my card, rumble.com/DoNotTalk. And they go, oh, what's that? Seriously, quit it. Come on, we got to start stepping up and speaking out. And the best way to do it is by getting involved. Act locally, impact nationally, as General Flynn says. And we're not doing it. We're not even showing up to vote. But next week is a very crucial time because we're going to be voting for chair of the California Republican Party. And that executive board, that committee there, that's running my party in the state of California is polluted with rhinos. And if you don't know what that is, rhino, R-I-N-O, Republican in name only. Polluted with them. And we're going to vote for the chair. because that train wreck that's been running us off a cliff for 6 years, Jessica Patterson, is terming out. And her vice chair wants to take her place. Her vice chair, as far as I'm concerned, is worse than Jessica Patterson. I'm on Team Mike Morrell. Please look him up. Mike Morrell, 4 chair. Find his website. Get involved, get educated. And what I'm doing today is letting you know what's going on the inside with our central committees. Every county has a central committee of Republicans. They're the ones who are vetting the local candidates. They're the ones who are doing the work, volunteer. These chairs and these people on the boards don't get paid. I love what they're doing for the most part, but there are some really bad ones too. But then you mix in what the state of California Republican Party is doing to these central committees. They're breaking their own laws. It's criminal. So I've never done this before. I've invited several different people involved with these central committees to tell us what's going on the inside, because some outrageous things are happening. Very bad things are happening. And as the word says, my people die for lack of knowledge. So I'm bringing these people to you, and I'm inviting them to tell their story. And before I bring them in, I did want to share one thing with you. I don't know who did this, but it's absolutely brilliant. Of our Commander-in-Chief of the state of California, Governor Hairdo. Watch.
Welcome to the Gavin Newsom podcast. I know no one actually asked for this, and they'd prefer I do my actual job instead of whatever the hell this is, but everyone knows I march to the beat of my own drum, which is why when I locked everyone down during COVID, I still went to fancy restaurants that you poor losers couldn't even afford to work at, let alone eat at. I appreciate the poor optics of another podcast hosted by a straight white male, but the world needs this now more than ever. And from what I've read online, most people don't consider me straight or a man anyhow. Have I made mistakes as governor? Not really. Actually, no. I have never made a mistake, ever. I guess banging my campaign manager's wife could be viewed as a mistake, except hypergamy is a very common lifestyle in California. Some people like to say I was asleep at the wheel, which made the LA fire substantially more devastating. But again, I haven't made any mistakes. Also, aren't you amazed how little I'm using my hands while I talk? My aides told me the way I talk makes me look like a complete psychopath. So I'm doing my best to talk like a normal person right now. Plus, I'm not a psychopath, just a sociopath. Those are two very different things. Oops, I'm doing it again. Old habits die hard. Don't tell that to my new campaign manager, though. Just kidding. Or am I?
Or am I? Oh, man, that's funny. All right, my friend. Let's bring in, for your dining and dancing pleasure now, a consortium of people who are being completely mistreated by their own party. And I'm going to start with Dirk Lay. Hello, buddy.
How are you doing?
I'm borderline amazing, but I'm angry. I'm genuinely angry at my own party, and I don't want to be. I don't like that. I'm a loving guy. I'm just a good old boy from Bakersfield. Let's have a party, and that unfortunately is not what the convention is for next week. But that's how most people will be viewing it. Oh, it's just one big party. No, there's horrible things going on the inside in their own party. What happened to you in Ventura County?
Well, we ran 19 reform-minded, America First, actually believe what we say kind of candidates on a slate, and it was headed up by Dennis Maddock and the CRA, and the results were astounding. There's 22 seats. We found 19 candidates. We won 19 of 19 by an average margin of 2.5 to 1. That was in March of 2024. And then by the bylaws, we weren't able to take over until December of 2024. And then we found out that the old committee left us with bank accounts that were in the wrong accounts, so we couldn't use them, and we were bouncing checks. In addition, they didn't give us any kind of a turnover, so we had to go find the bookkeeper and create everything from scratch. But the good news is that in just a few weeks, we held an inauguration gala. Lori Mills and June Dubriel were very instrumental in there, along with Deb Baber and our chair, Richard Lucas, and Cheryl Hall, and many, many other people. And we raised by the end of January, we had $30,000 in the bank, which allows us to at least pay our expenses going forward for the year.
But the Republican Party on the state side, California GOP, did everything to not have that happen.
We called ourselves the New 19s, the New 19 rather, and we offered the Central Committee our help to work toward the election of November in 2024. And they basically told us that we didn't know what we were doing, there was no time for on-the-job training, and they didn't need us. So working with groups like the CRA and the Republican women's groups and Move the Needle and Free Ventura out of Godspeed Church, we did what they refused to do, which is help candidates. So we just did it in spite of them. And then in December at the reorganizational meeting, they tried to take over and thwart the will of the people by backing a couple of the 19 that really probably dishonestly represented their views, and apparently had been working with the old Central Committee, the outgoing, I'm glad to hear that and say that, the outgoing Central Committee, to subvert everything that we were doing. We thought we had some degree of confidentiality. We were very excited. You don't win 19 out of 19 anything is a big deal. And then to find out that all along, 3 or 4 of them had been spies working with the outgoing committee to prevent a MAGA First America First group from taking over. The good news is that they failed. Every single one of our officers is rock solid. Our executive committee is, for the most part, rock solid. And we are getting a lot done in spite of their continued resistance, which is the only thing I can think of is that I've heard rumors, and all of these opinions are Dirk Lay. I'm not speaking for the Ventura County Republican Central Committee because I haven't been authorized to do that. I am a member, and my views are shared by other people, but I like to put that out. I'm not speaking officially for the committee, but we have been. They actually tried to block the gala, our fundraiser, when we were broke, and they knew we were broke. They've weaponized the bylaws, and recently what they did was they said, you didn't give 5 days notice of the next committee, so that meeting is illegitimate. And the reason is that they were afraid that we weren't going to endorse for the CAGOP officer slates their guys. So unfortunately, they were able to prevent us from making an endorsement, although many of us are making individual endorsements.
Things are, well, there is a lot of good news in there. I'm going to bring in some folks right now, though, who maybe don't have such good news. One is Catherine Laura. Catherine, say hello to Dirk Lay. And the other one is Agnes Gibney, who is in the green room. I'll have to bring her in a second. Agnes, I can't bring you up at the same time. We're kind of maxed out right now. But Catherine, what happened with your folks? And what county are you in?
I am in San Bernardino County. We are a corrupt county. It's been a good old boy system for as long as I can remember. And it goes clear on up to all of our, supervisor, sheriff, DA, everything. So initially I was working with the GOP, the San Bernardino GOP, as their election integrity director. And then in 2020, on election day, they cut me out of the system, claiming that I had emailed something that I shouldn't have. But the bottom line was I was running against the chairman's group for the upcoming election, and they just got me out of there. I'm back as a alternate for one of our assembly women, so I'm still in there. But there is this huge divide within our group. We were able to run people this last election, and we got about 9 new people on, including Agnes, whom you'll hear from, and she's got quite the story as well. But Phil Cothran is our chairman, and he has shut our meetings down, so it's not even open to the public or any other Republicans. Most of the people that come to the meeting are all of his people, and they're all, I mean, there's this huge group that's been backed by, it's about money in our county, and it's about developers who've actually already been to jail, but they're still out there doing the same thing. And so this is a whole progressive group that has gotten a hold of ours, and there's this clear divide now. And so there's maybe 16 of us that are grassroots MAGA, and then 28 or so of people that are all under Phil Cothran doing his bidding. And so the other problem that we have is we have Robert Rigo in our mix. He is running for the national treasurer chair at the California GOP, and he plays both sides. So when we were running for positions in caucus as caucus members, they were using PACs against us. So here's Republicans putting out lots and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in ads, even against me. I'm a nobody. They spent, $3,000 or $4,000 on ads on Facebook against me, trying to say that I was a rhino and I'm, and they went, it was ridiculous, the stuff that they were doing. And so we have this huge divide. It's very hostile. They're violating rules like crazy. Like all of a sudden, out of the 4 years since I've been working with them, they're making everybody vote on somebody's alternate. If a caucus member wants to bring in an alternate, they're making them vote. And in the 4 years prior to this, they never did that. So they're and when we call them out, they can't even give me the election code that covers that.
Well, that's why, Dirk, are you're real familiar with the laws with the Central Committee and this California GOP? Does any of this sound suspicious to you?
Yeah, when sometimes people weaponize the bylaws because they don't see the forest for the trees, and it's just a procedural. It's like when the Democrats were trying to slow down President Trump's nominees for his cabinet positions, and the same lesson was learned. A, it didn't work ultimately, but B, you kind of made a jackass of yourself by doing that. So again, it's frustrating, and I do sense some betrayal on some of the people that I thought were my comrades in arms. But you know what? We're winning anyway, and I've had some frank conversations with a couple of them, and I told them, we don't need you. If you want to come on board and do what you promised the voters you would do, you're welcome. But right now, we don't trust you, and you're not helping anyway. So lead, follow, or get out of the way.
That's my attitude too. Dirk, I'm going to put you in the green room real quick so I can bring Agnes in and let her get some input on all of this. Agnes Gibney has been on my show before. You got your dog right on.
I do.
I love it. Oh, hey, listen, I'm a dog guy. I'm a dog guy. That's absolutely fine with me. Agnes, please fill us in and everybody, because we need to know. We need to know what's going on the inside with our own state GOP party and what they've been doing to target anybody who's a conservative candidates and conservative serving on these boards and committees with the central committees in these counties. You're in San Bernardino as well, right?
I am in San Bernardino, yes. I'll tell you, I have been involved with the SV GOP Central Committee since about 2017. I was an alternate, and we had a different chair. And when the new chair, the current chair, Phil Cawthorn was running against Robert Rigo for chair, there were about 14, 15 new people brought in, and they all voted for Phil. And I have been asking for the past 4 years a list of who those people are because they have never been seen again. Never got it. So I became enemy number one because I'm daring to ask questions. And the secondary thing was asking financial statements when we had 2022 elections for supervisor. We were supporting Luis Petina for supervisor, and Phil Cotton was supporting one of his Team Fontana guys, and they spent thousands upon thousands of dollars attacking Luis Petina in the most horrific way, attacking him for being pro-life. And so I asked financial statements. Yes, I see your expression, Charlie, and it is. Everybody goes like,
Well,
"What
it's
the
not a
heck?"
surprise though, because our charter, I don't think they call it a charter, but the state party rules, list of this is what we stand for with the
Yes,
Republican Party of California. They tried to take that out about a year ago when I
yep.
was down there in Anaheim for that convention, and they tried to remove that we're pro 2A, they tried to remove that we're pro traditional marriage, and that we are pro life. They tried to remove those out of our
And they
bylaws for the
didn't
state.
win.
Yep.
Yeah,
It
and
was
they didn't
insane.
win. So
They did
yeah,
not
so
win,
anyway,
but yet they still keep sneaking things in though here and there.
that's
This is a really bad current elected leaders of the state who are coming up for election or re-election this coming Sunday, March 16th. And if you're a delegate or you know somebody's a delegate with the state GOP, please let them know what's going on right now on this show and share it with them so they can get a little idea of what's happening with our own state party targeting counties who have conservatives, MAGA people, which seems to be a cuss word to the Republican Party in California, is so bizarre to me. And they are ruling the roost. And so far, they've been winning. So how bad did it get for you all in San Bernardino County with the state party getting involved with you? Did you
It
have
we
your
got
got
chair removed? Because they've
we
been
got
removing elected chairs of different central committees. I don't know how, but they just do it. Yeah,
they're in
no,
bed
you're
with
not. We
ours.
don't recognize you as chair of San Bernardino County, so we're putting so and so in there, and that's
They're in
that. And we're
bed.
like, wait a minute, we're a central committee, we're county, you can't tell us what to do, and they have been, haven't they?
They're
Yes, they
totally.
have. And what happens also, Charlie, is that it's a click. And I said that from the very get-go, that I have noticed that this is nothing but a click. And they vote always the same. It's like a carbon copy, it's just rubber stamping everything. I was invited to be Mike Cargile's alternate last year. They called him and said, I can't because I don't live in his district, which always in the San Bernardino GOP has been that you have to live in the county. So they wouldn't allow me. So then Michelle Martinez wanted to appoint me as an alternate. What's her name? Michelle Sabino called her and said, pick somebody less controversial, pick somebody else. So she didn't follow through. So, anyways, I couldn't be. And then from April on, April, I went to the meeting to be sworn in, right? And not knowing how they're going to be voting, they voted 18-8 not to allow me to be Michelle Martinez, an ex officio's alternate. And then they made every meeting private from that point on. So I couldn't attend any meeting from April to January because I was elected to the Central Committee, I was able to attend. But in the meanwhile, the son of the chair, the city council member for Fontana, Phil Cotton Jr., I was walking into the hotel where we were having our meeting, and he was walking out. I didn't recognize him. He was wearing shorts and a baseball cap and looking down. And I'm not checking men out, you know. And he walked by and he goes, "This is a closed meeting, you know." And I looked back and it was Phil Cotton Jr. I said, "I'm here to be sworn in." And he said, "Sure you are." And then continue walking. Of course, I was not approved. What right do they have to be determining whose alternate you're going to choose for yourself? Like I picked an alternate for myself this past month,
I don't get it.
Krista, who has been Kathy Laura's alternate before, and they voted against me, not allowing. And Phil Cotton, in front of everybody, said, "Agnes, just pick somebody else."
Well,
And I said, "I have the right." I said, "I have the right to pick my own alternate. I'm an elected official," and it goes nowhere.
Catherine, you said in the beginning it's a good old boy club, and that seems to be quite apparent to me with many of them and the party in general. And these are some of my most hated words. This is how we've always done it. The 7 words of death when it comes to actually, you're aligning yourself with the enemy. You really are, Republican Party of California. So, Catherine, you said that they closed the meetings to the public. People can't even come in and go, "Hey, what's this all about? I'm interested in helping. I'm interested in being a part of it." They are not even allowed in.
Yeah, and they have an office that was donated to them, and they don't have anybody in it. Even during election time, they did not have anybody in the office. You're lucky if you get a call back. Phil has one of his girls that was working out of his insurance company, also answering phones for the GOP office. Half of the time, I mean, I still do election integrity for the CRA, and so people were calling me because GOP wasn't returning phone calls.
The CRA, in case you don't know, stands for California Republican Assembly, which when I first found out about it, I mean, they suck at self promotion, frankly, because I've been first president I ever got to vote for was Ronald Reagan. So I've always been on the conservative side of things. I never even knew what a CRA was, and Ronald Reagan talked about it as the conscience of the Republican Party. But it is a political action committee, I think is the best way to describe them. And they do amazing work by bringing conservative candidates up, supporting them, helping them, and presenting them to central committees and working synergistically with them, hopefully. But most in the central committees seem to hate competition. They don't want any help from the CRA, do they?
Yeah. And I, when all of this stuff was going on with the GOP, I wrote to Patterson and Corinne and Harmeet and all these people and never got an answer, never got anything. Somebody spoke to Mark Moisier about the way that the election code and how we were voting. And he basically said, no, they're violating, constitutional law. And when we brought that up in the meetings, they're like, well, he is not part of the GOP. We need to get our own constitutional lawyer to verify that. But then they never go back to it. They never answer it. And they play the games with Robert's Rules of Orders. And, instead of allowing for talk to occur, they just call for a vote. And it cuts everything off. We even have one of the caucus members who is a head chief for one of the board of supervisors, lives in a different district than he is sitting on as a caucus. And Agnes and I brought all of the documents. I'm a retired investigator for the district attorney. I know how to investigate. I know how to put a report together. We brought everything to our district attorney, Jason Anderson, to show that Dakota Higgins, who is Supervisor Cook's head guy in the office, does not live in the district where he lives in District 3, but is sitting on a caucus for District 1. And do you think they did anything about it?
No.
Guess who just endorsed the district attorney, for his run in 2026? Phil Cothran.
Let's talk about Agnes and Catherine. I'll be right back with you. Stand by, please, because Dirk, I want to come back to you, Dirk Lay. And I know we're talking about central committees and so on right now, but I want to talk about the party itself, because voting is Sunday, March 16th. Anyone who's a delegate or an associate delegate, please pay attention to what's going to be happening and how important it is. And there's been so many questions about election integrity. We're supposed to set the standard. We're supposed to be setting the example of making sure that we have the absolute most honest elections possible in our own party. And we don't. We got these little voting devices that look like little TV remotes, and that's how we're voting. And we don't. And I've been there when there's been glitches, when there's been problems. It has delayed things tremendously, more than once. But yet they continue, and at a cost of, as Steve Frank says, a cost of about $25,000 per convention for these little things. They won't do paper ballots like they used to do. They won't do a standing vote like they've also done in the past. The National Republican Party doesn't do electronic voting when they have their meetings and their vote sessions like this. But we do in the state of California, and it continues. And the woman who's running to be chair, Corinne Rankin, goes, no, we're keeping those. It has created, and the proxy thing, which is supposed to be for those who are like first responders so they can still vote and so on and so forth. And it all sounds really good, but I've seen that convention floor. I don't think there's a lot of first responders there with all those geriatrics. Speaking honestly, I see so much potential for corruption and theft and fraud in my own state party. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. I've never. I think the biggest thing about conservative people and hopefully Republicans is that we don't really, if we need help, we'll ask for it, but we don't want to be dictated to by government. We just want to be left alone, because we're fairly productive and we're happy and fairly prosperous, and that because we're left alone. The other group of people just seem hell-bent on controlling other people. Now, the people that run the old Central Committee, they clung to that power like their lives depended on it. And I've never understood why you wanted to be the leader of a losing team. It doesn't seem to have a lot of appeal to me. And yet they continue to fight us in this stuff. I was on a call, and I don't know why they invited me to the call. I think maybe it was kind of a shot across the bow, but it was when those committees had some GOP committee at the California state level was ruling on things that had happened in different counties, right? And every time they ruled in favor of the existing committee chair, and I think 2 or 3 of the 4 instances, the chair just refused or canceled the reorganizational meeting. So they said, well, we looked at the bylaws and that means he's still chair. No, he did something terrible. Not the fine letter of the law. His one job in December was to turn over the committee. Now, this didn't happen to us, but it did happen to 2 or 3 others. And basically what it did is now they don't have a committee that's recognized, so they don't have delegates. Well, guess what? Those delegates probably would not have voted for the establishment. And it's sad that we fight amongst ourselves, but when someone punches you in the face, you have no choice but to fight or go home. And I, for one, have never been a go home kind of guy. I learned that in the playground on third grade. And you know, amazingly, it still works today.
It
You know,
still
you,
works
you
today.
stand up,
Yeah.
you stand up to bullies because otherwise it gets worse.
They will always back down. My grandfather promised me that when I was a kid. Stand up to a bully, and they will always back down.
They look
Um,
for an easy target, which is
yeah,
not
they
you.
do. Yeah, and it's not us, right? Exactly. Um, Thank you very much for throwing in your thoughts on all of this. Is there anything that maybe I didn't ask that you would love for us to know before we go to vote on March 16th in Sacramento at the California GOP convention?
You said something about something that upset you when people said their vote didn't matter. And this year, Charlie Kirk with Turning Point Action, what they did is they went to registered Republicans that we could see in the data had not voted consistently. And before, people thought that was a lost cause. The general reaction that I've heard anecdotally, and I believe to be true, is that when people knocked on the door and they said, "We're from the Republican Party, we see that you're a registered Republican and you're not voting very much, and we want to tell you that change is here." You know, in Ventura County, the Central Committee, Donald Trump. I mean, the tide is with us. Please vote. They said, "Thank God somebody asked me to vote." So that they're hungry for us to say, "Come back in, vote," because if you don't vote, you lose your right to complain, and God knows everybody likes to complain, right? So you don't want to give that up because it's so much fun. But please, I always feel good when I vote, even if I lose, because at least I was competing.
Yeah.
The old Central Committee, we have 5 supervisors. They didn't run a candidate, any candidate, not even a college kid, in 2 of those 5 because they said they were too heavily Democratic. So ask Notre Dame if how they felt when they lost to Northern Illinois. Probably a 3 touchdown underdog. That's why you play the game, because sometimes you have pleasant surprises. And the only way you're a loser is that if A, you never compete, or B, you quit.
Thank you, my friend, and all the best to you. And let's go get them. And I hope to get to shake your hand and meet you at the convention next week.
You are the first person I'm going to look for.
All right, buddy.
All
I'll
right.
be in the associate delegate suite with John Paul White. I'll be broadcasting live from there all day Saturday. Come on by. I'll throw you on.
I will definitely find you, sir. It's been a
All right.
pleasure.
All right, my friend. Thank you. And Catherine, also, thank you very much for being a part of this. Anything that you and Agnes would like to throw into the mix when it comes to something you want to say to those who might be voting this coming Sunday, March 16th?
You know, I know Mike Morrell personally. He is an upstanding, solid guy. He is a hardcore conservative, and he would be the man to bring about change, not only for the GOP, but for our state. And, you know, the people that the status quo are running are just part of the swamp and the quagmire that we have got to get rid of if we want to go anywhere in California. So you don't want to vote for Robert Rigo as treasurer. You don't want to vote for Corinne. It's time to bring in some new blood that really care about what's going on.
Senator Mike Morrell for chair.com. If you get yourself educated. Senator Mike Morrell. Morrell is with 2 R's and 2 L's. For the number 4 chair.com. Agnes, how about you? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I will see you in Sacramento, and I'll definitely be visiting the suite like I did last time. Mike Morrell for chair. We cannot expect change if we keep voting for the same people over and over, and Kareem has not done anything.
Right.
So we need change. Mike Morrell is the change and hope for our party.
Oh, I
Jack,
wouldn't say she hasn't done anything. I think she's done
oh, no,
actually
no, no.
tremendous damage. She's done a
She
lot.
has done a lot of damage. What I'm saying, anything positive to bring the party together, she hasn't accomplished that. Jack Guerrero definitely for treasurer. He's an amazing, amazing human being. Never Robert Rigo, a two-faced, double-sided player, unethical, who attacks conservatives like me and Angel Mom, who has been on national TV over and over again. I'm very consistent, and he called me a left-wing Democrat threat, trying to take over the Republican Party. Yes,
Oh my
Lonnie,
goodness.
yeah, Lonnie Kane and Lori also.
Lori
We need
Wallace, yes.
change.
Mark Wright. I'm definitely voting for Mark Wright. Yes.
Yeah, and Lori, we gotta change. We need change. And one thing I wanted to add, Charlie, if I can, at the last meeting, I almost got assaulted by the first VP because in January she told me that Dakota Higgins, who lives in another district but ran in District 1, has a special permit to run. And I brought this up on the caucus meeting in the February's meeting, and she started yelling and from 3 feet away, pointing her finger in my face, came so close to me that her body was almost touching mine, like a couple of inches. And I told her, "Get your finger off my face." Finding my husband, who was standing next to me, put his arm up and said, "Get away from my wife, back up. This is how it is." They are to the point of attacking me because I speak up. And Phil Cothran, the chair, said, "What's your problem is, Agnes? You don't like to lose." And I said, "No, I don't have a problem losing, but I do have a real problem losing to corruption, manipulation, and unethical practices."
Exactly. Exactly right. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for joining me here on the show.
I'll see you next week.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
And Catherine, keep fighting the good fight.
Won't stop. We will get.
Atta girl. I I love my state. I just hate the people who are running it. And I hate. Oh, Charlie, that doesn't sound very Christian. Not supposed to hate people. Not supposed to hate. Yeah, we're supposed to love our enemies and pray for those who persecute us. And I do. I pray for their salvation. I pray for their salvation. And then I pray like King David. If that's not your will, Lord, bring them down. Make them go away. Stop them. That's what I'm praying for, because I do like my state. Born and raised here, we've got so many wonderful things here. I have so many wonderful friends and family here, and I have so many wonderful friends and family who have left. It's so bad they've moved out. And unfortunately, they were really good people too, which leaves even fewer of us behind. The Democrat Party loves that. Loves that. And when I see my own Republican Party in the state of California telling us that if we want to actually win elections, we have to be more like them, wrong answer. Especially when we had overwhelming, record-breaking success in this presidential election in November, and we now have. I'm on board with saying he's, if not the one of the greatest presidents this nation's ever had. And he's just getting started. California Republican Party thinks we have to be more like Democrats to be able to win elections. I fully disagree. This is the time that we, in fact, embrace our conservatism. And I pray that we also bless God. As I always say at the end of the show, may God bless America, but most importantly, America bless God. And we do that by not turning our backs on the things that have made us Republicans and set aside the Republican Party as the last party that actually stands for life, traditional marriage, Second Amendment, First Amendment. This is crucial. This is crucial. It's going to be a big party atmosphere next weekend at the Hyatt Regency in Sacramento for the spring California GOP convention. but I really hope that you will take your responsibility seriously as a delegate or an associate delegate on Sunday, March 16th, and actually show up to vote. And let's stop this proxy crap, and let's stop these people in the executive board that are running for re-election or election, these rhinos. And look up your California Republican Assembly in your county, wherever you live. They've got a whole voting guide for delegates already there. So please, please do a little due diligence and show up on Sunday and join me there. Right? This is kind of our last shot, this election, because we got the governor's election coming up in 26. We got to get on board now and get our Republican Party back on track. It's imperative. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America bless God.